I take advantage of the mornings. My first job was when I was 16 and a half. I was a summer school tutor at my high school. Yeah, I got paid $14.95, I think. And I was like, wow, I'm making bank. The work study hustle. Hey, you do everything to get a buck. It's a craft. It's not, there's no set answer, no set formula to how to do it. Give advice, but not tell people how to do their craft because it's their own art. I'm big for conservation. I would ban
What is the secret to balancing a work-study schedule in college? Welcome back to the Magnus Effect, the podcast, where I talk to ambitious college students and understand how they balance their ambitions with the day-to-day college life. In today's conversation, we get to learn about Viviana, who comes from a city with a population that's the same as the number of enrolled students at UC Berkeley. Listen to learn about the jobs she's taken up since the age of 16, as well as things she wishes would be banned when we play the card game Hot Seat. I really enjoyed how this episode turned out. But before I play the episode, a quick word from our sponsor, 11 Labs. If you're a content creator, podcaster, or anyone in need of top-notch AI voiceovers, 11 Labs is your go-to solution. Their cutting-edge text-to-speech technology lets you generate incredibly realistic and expressive voices in minutes. Whether you need a friendly narrator, a professional announcer, or even multiple voices for a project, 11 Labs has got you covered with a wide range of customizable options. Try it out and create your first voiceover for free at 11labs.io. With that out of the way, please welcome Viviana.
Welcome, Viviana. Thanks for coming in on this lovely afternoon.
Thank you, Magnus, for having me here.
So you're one of the very few people I personally know that are like working very hard while you're in college to pay for your own tuition. Can you tell me a little bit about like how you're going about that?
Yeah, I am a work study student, and I work at the BAM-PFA. Some people also call it the BAMFA. It's the Berkeley Art Museum and Pacific Film Archive. I specifically work in the Pacific Film Archive section of the BAMFA, and much as like what it sounds, it's an archive that just has movies. Right. And I'm a theater usher. That's the work study position offered there. And I work with two other people plus a theater manager every shift, and we supervise movies to make sure nothing happens in the theater, make sure everyone follows rules. And yeah, that helps me pay for the rest of my tuition.
Hey, there you go. So you're constantly watching movies. Do you feel like you never get bored of it? I know a lot of people, especially in the Bay Area, like to take on jobs that they feel like they would, helps develop them professionally. How, do you think this job develops you professionally, or is that not like the focus at all?
I'm sure it does because weekend movies, they're not like your typical Marvel, DC, blockbuster movies. These are more your independent film creators. These are really old movies. They're really new movies that have very political perspectives. They're very artsy. Some of them I'm kind of like, what's happening here? Like, no offense to them. They're interesting, but sometimes I don't get what they're trying to say. But I think it does help me in some aspect because a lot of them are filmed from around the world, and I get to see different parts of the world that maybe I wouldn't see, and probably doesn't look like that anymore, especially recently. We've had a lot of films from Africa in the 1970s, and I imagine that Africa looks very different now than then, and that filmmaker specifically shows a certain point of view that was had during that time. So I think it's really interesting, you know.
You've definitely told me a lot of different stories of like a variety of films that going on. Tell me some about these like unique films that you've seen being played at these movies. And are you also always like watching through all of these?
Whether for better or worse, I do sit and watch through all these movies. I will admit there was one movie I never saw because I fell asleep through. Oh, no. It was a slideshow movie, pretty much. It was like, imagine a screen that looks like a slideshow, just had pictures of stained glass on it, and it was just some guy's voice narrating it, and it was so deep and dark and sleepy.
Maybe that was the point, you know.
And I was like, tired. And I remember I saw a picture of like Jesus stained glass in a chapel. Next thing I knew, I woke up and there were credits rolling on the screen. So that movie, I did not. That's gotta be a funny way to wake up. Yeah, and then the curator looked over at me like, it's time for you to get up and start mic running. And I was like, oh no. But yeah, we get movies of all different kinds. Usually there's movies that focus on political perspectives. Those are chosen by curators. Those usually from different parts of the world. There's usually a selection that focus on the LGBTQ plus community. That usually happens in the spring. I'm assuming because Pride Month is April, I think. Yeah. There are usually older films that are from 30s, 40s, 50s. Occasionally they'll have silent films. Silent films are really fun to watch because there's a piano they have in the back. Our ushers, we bring it out. It's a really heavy piano, and they bring it out, or we bring it out, and they have a live pianist play along to the movie. That's really cool to see. Some of the movies I haven't enjoyed are the experimental films. Some of them have been really interesting. Others I'm like, oh my gosh. There was one that looked like the beginning of Monty Python and the Holy Grail, where it's just like flashing back and forth different colors, and it was really hurting my eyes. Like, I don't think I can see this.
Did they give you a seizure warning in the beginning?
No, there was no seizure warning. I was like, oh no. Yeah, that pretty much covers all the different kinds of movies we have there.
Oh, that's very interesting. So in terms of like being able to like support yourself and like being able to pay off tuition, like how many hours are you essentially working every week?
Every week, I usually work 2 shifts a week. One of those is usually a 6-hour shift. The other one is usually a 3 to 4 hour shift. So 9 to 10 hours a week. Over the course of a month, that ends up being around 40. I get paid Berkeley minimum wage, which is reinforced by the school, which is $18.07.
Which is actually outrageous now that you think about it. Like,
yeah.
I looked it up the other day. I was like, SoCal is like 16.
I know.
So
and that's another thing.
Extra up here.
Exactly. I really want to try to work more up here because I also used to work back in Southern California. I used to work at a summer school tutor my first job was when I was 16 and a half. I was a summer school tutor at my high school. Really? Yeah, I got paid $14.95, I think. And I was like, wow, I'm making bang. And then the following summer, I didn't work that summer. And then the summer after that, I ended up working at Boomers in Vista. And again, I thought I was making bank, making $16 an hour. But out here, it's much different. It's $18.07, and all I do is sit in the movie theater and make sure nothing goes wrong. And yeah, so even though I don't get a whole ton of hours, kind of makes up for it, the extra $2.
What have been some of your favorite jobs that you've taken up? I mean, you know, I've definitely heard some stories from you about like Boomers and all the crazy things that happens there. But yeah, still want to touch on that.
Let's see. The BAMFA has definitely exposed me to different perspectives from all over the world, but also customer service, because it is a customer service job. Boomers really tested me in customer service. I will say that. For those who are not familiar with Boomers, I know you are because there was one near your place. But Boomers is amusement park chain. They have go-karts, mini golf, and an arcade. I used to work the go-karts, the mini golf, and the arcade. There's a lot of customer service involved with that. You get a lot of upset parents, a lot of angry children, a lot of very angry grandparents, and also we were a cashless business, and that upset a lot of people. You don't know how many times I got the saying, what was it? Plastic is not legal tender. Greenbacks are the way to go. I was like, oh my gosh, please. I just run the cashier system. Leave me alone.
And it's all just like credit cards and
it's all, yeah. And I get these really old people that have cash only. And I'd be like, we can't take your cash. And he's like, what do you mean you don't want my money? And I would always come back with the smart response like, well, I will gladly take your money, but you're not going to get anything in return. Yeah. The work study hustle. Hey, you do everything to get $1. And then the summer school job was very eye-opening because we were working with remedial high schoolers. So these were kids that failed freshman English. I specifically taught in an English class. They failed freshman English and they took summer school to make up for those lost credits. A lot of these kids did not only fail English, they failed pretty much everything else. But the biggest thing I learned from that was how to work with people who are not as driven as others and see things from their perspective. So, for example, obviously I'm a UC Berkeley student. I'm pretty much driven in academia, right? These kids, on the other hand, they were like, well, my dad has a company. I'll probably just acquire the company later on. Who cares about my grades? But right. So they were driven in that aspect of, well, I'm just going to keep helping out my parents and stuff in their jobs versus focusing in school because those are more essential life skills.
Right.
But you have to learn how to, I think, also show the importance of academia to those who don't think it's important.
For sure.
And me and that teacher, we worked very hard, and some of the kids actually ended up doing pretty well in the class. So we were surprised. They went from writing really garbage essays, as the teacher used to call them in private, of course, to really good essays. We were very proud of them by the end of the summer. We were like, wow, these kids have improved a lot. And a couple of them I stayed in touch with, and they ended up graduating high school. Right. And from that first year in their freshman year of high school, they did not look like they were going to graduate. So that was really good to see.
Yeah, and you yourself are a writer, right? So that definitely, I assume that helped you out a good amount to reinforce your learning.
Mm-hmm, because you have to learn how to critique other people's writing, which is really hard. Mm-hmm. It's not like math and science where there's a definite answer. In writing, it's a craft. There's no set answer, no set formula to how to do it. And you just have to find a way to give advice, but not tell people how to do their craft because it's their own art. English is an art.
Have you ever been put into a situation where you were kind of responsible for writing anything?
For example, what do you mean?
Like, I know some people on campus are part of like what's it called?
The Daily Cal?
The Daily Cal, right. Mm-hmm. So they'll write little like entries there, or they'll be a part of a magazine where they're in charge of copywriting. Just curious if you ever worked on a team, given that you have this insight of like how to kind of talk to other writers.
Yeah, I used to be on the high school newspaper back at home. And here I am not part of any writing clubs, but I am in a creative writing course where we learned how to write short stories and poetry, and I learned a lot from that course.
Oh, really? Mm-hmm. What's something that I could take away from that from you, just describing what you learned in that course?
In that course, they teach you the craft of fiction writing, which sounds really simple. You know, you hear all these stories. It's like, once upon a time, little princess did this and that.
That's exactly what was going through my head, yeah, for fiction.
Yeah, but there's a lot more to it. They teach you how to establish conflict, resolution, foreshadow, and you look at different pieces that are well recognized to have those characteristics. And now, after taking that class, I look back at my older work, and I see that I was missing a lot of those elements. And I see other literary pieces out there, and I'm able to pick out better the little tricks the writer was using to establish the foreshadowing and conflict.
But are you one that writes a lot of fiction yourself?
I've only exclusively wrote fiction, yeah.
You've only exclusively written fiction, okay. So where do you ever post these works anywhere, or is it more of like just a hobby for yourself?
Just a hobby for myself. I know my school newspaper, they had them posted on a website that we had, but the stuff I have now, no. I just like share it with friends and stuff.
So as someone who's experienced in like teaching things such as writing, do you ever go down a path where you also teach other subjects? I'm sure yourself, you're pretty experienced in a lot of like the different courses that you're learning here, and I ask this because a lot of people on this podcast have expressed their like love for teaching and how it's helped them a lot.
Yeah. Well, even though you've asked me so many questions about writing and art and stuff, I am actually a STEM major.
Whoa!
Woo.
Plot twist.
Plot twist. Yeah. I'm an integrated biology major here at Berkeley. In high school, I was really into chemistry, and I used to tutor chemistry.
Oh, really?
Yeah. That was actually my other side job that I had. That was like a little cash only side business. Yeah, that was really fun. I learned a lot from tutoring chemistry because now that's like a whole different mindset. There is a definite answer for that. There is a definite formula. And it's teaching those theories and skills in a way that's accessible to those who are maybe comprehending at a slower rate or just struggling to grasp the concepts, maybe because the way a teacher has worded it or the textbook, and you just need reinforcement. What
do you think a lot of people struggle with in terms of chemistry? I mean, myself, taking chemistry, I took chemistry for the first time here at UC Berkeley, And I definitely did struggle a lot, but in terms of like formulating, in terms of formulating like what went wrong, I couldn't tell you. I think it was just being able to grasp like this finite or very definitive concept that wasn't essentially just numbers, pure numbers, similar to like math would be.
I think that's especially what people struggle with in chemistry is the concept. Something about like, okay, in a Bill Nye video, Bill Nye tells you everything's broken down into these tiny little dots. And you're like, we're chilling, Bill Nye. That's great. But for some reason, when it comes down to actually being tested on it, people still cannot comprehend those little those little dots. Yeah. Also, I think chemistry is taught very fast at UC Berkeley. And it takes a while to understand these new concepts because you're basically starting from ground zero. I mean, you've never had any exposure to chemistry before in like really math classes. None of your high school classes, unless you took chemistry in high school, they don't tell you anything about it. So when you come into school and you take a chemistry course, it's like learning math from the very beginning. There's no foundation at all. You are building the foundation. And sometimes the class just moves too fast for those foundational skills to really become concrete in your head. And they're still just kind of like hand wavy. You're not too sure what's going on. And you just keep building and building and building on top of a weak foundation. And I think that's why a lot of people struggle.
How's your experience been as a bio major here? Is it something that's extremely difficult, or is it something that's very well balanced and taught?
I think, okay, so Bio 1A, they changed the grading system here last fall. And I will say that class was a little challenging. I actually have never really taken a bio course.
Oh, really?
So let me tell you.
All the surprises here.
Yeah, so I know that you know, but for everyone who doesn't know, I come from Fallbrook, California. It's a rural, unincorporated part of San Diego. We're a small town. And we're very ag-based. And my high school offers something called agricultural biology. And that's what I took. My teacher was more into the agriculture side than the biological side. So we learned basically how to raise cows, chickens, and goats. Right. We didn't really learn so much Mendelian genetics. Right. We didn't learn human anatomy and all that. We saw a cow that was dissected before us. That was cool, but not the usual things you are taught in a Bio 1A class. So when I took Bio 1A here, that was a bit of a struggle because it was all new concepts. And the class did move quite fast. And since the grading system was new, it was a little confusing of where I was in the class. Like, was I at a B, an A? And so that was a little bit of a challenge. But Bio 1B which is what I'm taking now, is a larger concept class. It focuses on ecology, evolution, organismal biology. So these are much broader concepts, not so much involved in the genetics and minute stuff. Right. And I have found that class to be much easier.
So with everything being said, I mean, where do you kind of see the future of this degree taking you? What are you planning on doing with it in the future?
I am not sure, but I do like the idea that integrated biology is like a little plate of sciences. They make you foundational in physics, chemistry, and biology. So it's very flexible. I'm still looking into career opportunities to go along with this, but it's definitely going to be something involved in one of the sciences. Maybe leaning towards chemistry because I have enjoyed chemistry so much. But yeah, I'm still keeping an open mind out there for that.
Is there any kind of like club campus organizations you're a part of that like helps you keep in touch with a lot of these bio people? I assume it's a pretty vast group, right? Yeah,
integrated bio is pretty big. We do have one club on campus called Cubs. It's the community of undergraduate biology students. They just started again this past semester under that name. They used to be called DIBS before, which is the Department of Integrative Biology Students. The club, since it was new, it had a strong start, but it kind of fizzled out in the end. But I think next semester, they're hoping to do something bigger and better with the club. So I'll still be a part of it, attending regular meetings, and hopefully meet other people like me.
Is there any like value that comes out of the club? Like, do you guys learn anything there, or
Yeah,
simply more hands-on experience?
they had weekly presentations, and occasionally they'd have guest speakers come in. I unfortunately was not able to attend any of the guest speakers because I had work. Work unfortunately takes a lot of your time, and sometimes does take away from some of these valuable experiences. But I kind of have to make up the money, so
Right, you got to do what you got to do. Right?
yeah.
So, how are you balancing everything in terms of like just trying to do the work, also study? You're definitely someone that like values academia, so I'm sure grades are very important to you. But at somewhere at a place like Berkeley, that demands a lot of like study time and after hours of studying. Like, how do you balance everything?
Yeah, well, I attribute my good time management to me being a morning person. I take advantage of the mornings because that's usually when things are not being used. And I live in the Blackwell dormitory, and a lot of people there, they like to sleep in the morning, meaning the study lounges are always open. So I take advantage of that, and it's usually nice, quiet study hours. I find myself to be most productive then. And my Bamfa job is exclusively a night job. Shifts pretty much start in the afternoon, usually earliest being like 4, and ends usually around like 10:30. So that part of the day I'm not really studying, so that's when I work. And then I have classes in the middle of the day, so basically my whole time is scheduled out. Anytime I want to do something social, I have to plan it at least a few days in advance.
Oh my gosh.
Because
You're one of those people.
I'm one of those people. But you know what? I'm not one of those people who have the Google Calendar all filled out, blocked out. No. I have a whiteboard calendar, and I just make little notes on it.
Old school. There you go.
Old school, yeah. I find that to be most effective. And yeah, so just figuring out the odd times when things aren't being used really saves time. And having a job that does not interfere with my school or study hours helps a lot as well.
Were you always a morning person yourself?
I've always been a morning person. Back at home, my family was always up at like 6:37, so I didn't have much of a choice to be sleeping in late. So yeah, I've always been up at around like 7. And also I've always had a lot of pets, and you have to take care of them. I used to have a rabbit, and rabbits, they're up early, so you have to feed them in the morning, and I used to feed her before I used to go to school, so I had to get up a little bit earlier to feed her, take care of her, clean the cage, all that fun stuff.
But I assume you're also having like late nights as well too, right? So I mean, are you like a wake up early, sleep early person, or are you just like
mostly
wake up early, sleep late?
Okay, when finals and midterms roll around, I do have the like 5-hour sleep schedule where it's go to bed late, wake up early. But I feel like everyone kind of has to do that once in a while. But for the most part, I do sleep early. I try to go to bed at like 10.
At 10, okay.
Mm-hmm. And then I get up at like 7.
So earlier you mentioned that you came from this more secluded part of San Diego. Tell me about how that transition was, like going from what I assume is a small school, correct me if I'm wrong, to an institution with 40,000 people.
Yeah. So my town, not too sure about the latest census, but I know we have a little sign in town that says like Fallbrook population this. The population of Fallbrook is actually 40,000. So that's what the sign reads. So basically, I live in a town that is the size of the number of students we have here at Berkeley. So I will say it was tough coming out here. I struggled a lot.
How so?
Well, first off, there's only one other person from my school that goes here.
Oh, wow.
And before that, we hadn't had anyone in this school, I think, for 6 years. So it's really just her and I. We didn't keep in contact too much. She just kind of like fizzled out after a week or so, which is fine. We have to go on, move on to bigger and better things. But back at home, I had a pretty big social network, and not having that out here was a little rough. And I mean, this is like a city environment. Haven't really been part of that because back home is just like open fields. My neighbors are cows and goats.
You didn't lose too much of the nature aspect. It's a good amount of greenery, right?
Yeah, it's a good amount of greenery. I can see all this green concrete out there. It looks
Yeah.
nice. Definitely have some wild animals. They're
Oh yeah, on the hiking trails, definitely ran into some deer.
yeah.
Turkeys.
Turkeys are definitely new. I do enjoy the turkeys. The turkeys are very cool. Yeah, so that part was a little different. I do miss the stars back at home. Back at home, you can see at night, on a nice clear night, you can see all the stars up in the sky. It's real pretty. Out here, you see planes. But those are cool too. I like planes. Planes are cool. Yeah, so that was just a little rough out here, not having the social aspect, not having the small town feel where everyone knows each other. Came out here, I don't know a single person. Yeah, because back at home it's like everyone's like, oh, you're so and so's cousin, and I'm friends with this person's nephew. Like one of those things.
Yeah.
You go into the grocery store and you recognize 10 people.
That's so funny. But how have you kind of dealt with that here? Like, what's your strategy? I know I've had a few people on talk about like how they went about like making friends here, but just curious on like what your story is on how you connected with a bunch of people.
I basically looked for people who did not have friends because I was like, well, they don't have a choice. They have to be friends with me then. That's one way of doing it, right?
That's a strategy, of course. Yeah.
I took advantage when people didn't know certain, like I'd see them in discussion struggling and be like, hey, you don't know how to do that. I know how to do it. You want to study together? Studying together was a big way of making friends because you bond through learning. And I feel like learning is a very big bond, especially in the #1 public university, right?
Yeah, for sure.
There's also been some random people who have approached me, especially in the dining hall, who just sat across from me, Magnus. Yeah. For those who don't know, Magnus randomly sat across from me in a dining hall and introduced himself, and that is how we became friends. Right. So you are the one person I've met that way.
And that was also because I had another extrovert with me who said, fuck it, we ball, and essentially just go to anyone in the dining hall. So that just happened to be Viviana, and here we are today, you know? So definitely worthwhile being a bit outgoing. I wanted you to talk about the Avocado Festival.
Oh my gosh.
In your hometown, you know?
Gotta put a plug for the Avocado Festival.
Yeah, I got it. It's just such a definitive thing, you know. Like I love that thing. Like I gotta head down one day to go to the Avocado Festival.
Yeah. Okay. Well, for those who are interested, Fallbrook, we are the avocado capital of the world. You can buy basically anything avocado themed at the Avocado Festival. We have it's a bunch of vendors on the main street. We have one main street in Fallbrook called Main Street, appropriately named. Oh, wow, yeah. Bunch of vendors. There's some janky little rides at the very end that you'll probably get a bruise in after riding a couple times. Oh, no. There's competitions like Best Dressed Avocado, which is where you bring in an avocado that you have decorated. I have won that one time.
Hey, there you go.
Yes, when I was 5, I think I turned an avocado into a peacock using some like fake feathers that I got from the dollar store. Right. And I won. I have a little plastic trophy from it.
Hey, there you go.
More recently, they've added new competitions such as how many avocados can you hold with one hand? The really old one is Best Guacamole.
Best guacamole.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds like a really delicious one, I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, a lot of people want to be judges for that one.
I wonder why.
Yeah, I wonder why. There's also avocado fudge you can buy in Fallbrook. Avocado fudge. There's avocado oil, avocado butter, avocado ice cream. I think there was some avocado flavored, I think it was cotton candy one year. I was kind of like, no. Yeah, basically you can get anything avocado themed out there. Earrings, jewelry, dresses, aprons. Fallbrook's also a very artsy place too. You can get a lot of art pieces.
And I feel like that reflects on you a lot, right? I mean, you have a lot of like from what I understand, you're a very crafty person when it comes to anything that you want to make. You built your own Halloween costume. You make a ton of posters and decorations for whatever. So definitely a crafty person in that aspect, right?
Yeah. Fallbrook has a lot of art galleries and a lot of art opportunities, actually. The elementary schools were very centered on art. We always had art classes, I remember. And yeah, I think that kind of like fostered my love of art, just having those classes, because it's a break from all the school stuff. It was fun. All the kids got to hang out together and do cool stuff.
Right. Yeah, definitely missed my days of arts and crafts, even though I was struggling quite a bit in that aspect.
Yeah, but if you ever want to go down to the Avocado Festival, it's in April, usually second or third week. It's in the morning. It's
Maybe
nice.
they'll see more traffic this year. We'll see if people are interested.
I think last year we had like 10,000 people go.
10,000?
I know.
Oh my gosh.
It was
How
hot
big
too.
is this fairground?
No, it's a street.
It's a street.
It's
Just
literally
one street of just
one
pure
street.
tents.
Yeah, look it up. Avocado
I wonder how
Festival.
profitable you can be as a tent there.
Honestly, I don't know. Some of them make a lot of bank, especially the avocado fudge people.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because people go there. They come from like the neighboring cities, and they're like, "Wow, I've never seen avocado fudge. It's weird. It's
Oh.
probably disgusting. Let's try it." Because that's like the mindset.
Have you tried it? Is it good?
It's.
Is it chocolate avocado? Is that?
It tastes
what
like more
is?
chocolate than avocado. It's very creamy.
Mm.
The avocado
I
butter's
honestly
good.
don't think it's that bad.
No,
Yeah.
avocado's a very mild flavor. I think they use these Haas avocados, which are like the ones from the grocery store.
Right.
They're just like your regular avocados, very creamy in texture, pretty mild. They don't have like a strong flavor. So I think it just adds to the smoothness of the chocolate.
That's fair. Yeah. Well, enough avocado discussion. I figured I'd try to hear more stories from you. So let's play a few rounds of hot seat. And yeah, concept simple. Each of these cards has a little question on them. We're just gonna take turns picking, and we're just gonna answer the question. So did you want to go first, or you want me to go first?
You can go first.
So just spread out the cards. I'll pick one of them. Or you can just...
Oh, I see. Like this? Okay. Choose a
Oh.
card. Any card.
Oh, wait, then that, I guess I would be asking you.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
fine.
Okay. Okay, this is a funny one. What is the most embarrassing thing you've ever Googled?
I've ever Googled? Oh gosh. Okay, last year. Okay, so I am allergic to pistachios and cashews. I didn't know that cashews relate to pistachios, and I remember I Googled after eating this granola bar that was made exclusively of cashews. Turns out I've never eaten a cashew before until last year.
Really?
Yeah. And
I love those nuts.
huh?
I love cashews.
Oh,
Yeah.
unfortunately, I cannot indulge in them. I remember looking up on Google. First one was kind of normal. It was just like, are pistachios related to cashews? And it was like, yes. And then I ended up looking up, if I'm having an allergic reaction, what should I do?
Right.
And I was like, that's stupid. What am I doing? I thought that was kind of embarrassing. Like, Google's probably thinking like, you're stupid. Why do you have to look that up? Like, that should be common sense. Yeah, that was the most recent embarrassing thing I can think of looking up. I'm not a huge like Google searcher for weird stuff. I just kind of keep those thoughts in my head. I'm on the front page of the Sunday edition of the local newspaper. What's the headline?
Like realistically, or like what I would want to see?
Up to you. How about we'll do realistically and then what you want to see?
Oh no. Realistically, I was gonna do some like, I guess some kind of criminal charge type stuff. Probably something along the lines of trespassing. Realistically, yeah. I definitely want to do more urban exploration. So if I wind up on a construction zone and get caught, that's probably me on the front page. Now, what I want to be on there for is probably this podcast, you know?
That would be cool.
Student builds his own podcast and shares Berkeley student stories. I think that'd be a pretty sick headline.
That would be pretty cool.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I see trespassing more in your future.
Oh, no. What do you think would be your two?
Mine? Realistically? New scam artist, probably.
Scam artist? What would you scam other people on? Fake art?
Nah.
Like, hey, this was drawn by Leonardo da Vinci.
It would probably be for like selling fake tickets at Boomers or something in revenge. Realistically, I win a Nobel Prize and then I can get one of those parking spots here at school.
Ooh,
That'd be pretty
there
cool.
You go. Nobel Prize in biology. Research will be groundbreaking.
Exactly.
You know, who knows what you'll find out.
Who knows? You'll just have to wait 20 more years. What one thing would I consider a deal breaker on a first date?
Weird laugh.
Weird laugh?
Yeah. Weird laugh or vaping. Those are two big ones. I wouldn't mess with that at all.
I would say vaping would definitely be one of them. I would say tattoos. Someone has tattoos, I'd be like, no.
Ooh, that's a pretty good one too. But I guess it would depend like what it is, but most often not, yeah.
For me, I'm like, no. Cannot.
Why is that?
I don't know. I just genuinely do not like tattoos at all. I feel like it's just damaging your body and
Yeah. Is that fair? Do you ever see yourself getting one?
no.
At all?
No, never.
Nice. That's good. I don't see myself either. I'd like to see Blink banned forever.
What would be a good ban on something? There's so many things I want to ban. I have to choose one.
You could choose multiple. Let's talk about it.
Okay, well, I feel like the food industry in America and like cosmetics especially in recent times, they have been introducing chemicals into the foods and cleansing products that have been really damaging to skin, and they probably didn't know that beforehand when they sold it to people and consumers, but yeah, there's been some pretty harmful chemicals that have been circulating around in the US and in the foods and cosmetic products, and that has caused a lot of problems for people. I have pretty sensitive skin actually, and I have gone through so many facial cleansers because they're just too irritating to my skin. And I feel like the US should do a better job in banning some of these chemicals that if they're corrosive to skin, they must be pretty bad.
Yeah, is this a recent thing?
Yeah,
or
recently.
Is it...
Proactive, Clearasil, I think some La Roche-Posay facial products, they were under fire because their cleansers were using too high concentrations of chemical, and it was doing a lot of damage to people's skin, and they found that out later and they released that to the public, and they were just like, oh, just throw it out, you'll be fine.
Didn't even recall it.
No, they were just like, get rid of it, which is a little upsetting. And then I heard there was another product, I don't remember which one it was, but supposedly it was causing eczema on people, which is a sketchy inrash. Right. And
it was causing eczema.
It was causing eczema. Supposedly, don't quote me on that, I heard that from other people, but same vein, there was just more studies that were being done on these beauty products. And I'm like, oh no, that's really bad. And personally, I don't want to damage my skin. I like my skin.
And that's something you discovered through like using their products?
Yeah, I used to use Proactive, and you know, it worked really well. But over time, my face started like, I don't know, every time I would put it on, it started to like burn. And I was like, oh, maybe I should like relax with this. Maybe I'm putting too much on. But yeah, I guess chemicals just build up over time and it's hurting my skin. I was like, I can't use this anymore.
What are the kind of the other things that you would ban?
I would ban. I'm big for conservation. The U.S. also doesn't do too fantastic of a job with their animal conservation, and I feel like maybe not ban. There's nothing I can think of exclusively that we could ban, but there definitely needs to be more policies that take greater effort to conserve species, especially those that are endangered. A lot of people don't see the value in conserving species, but there's significant research that shows that a lot of ecosystems depend on the preservation of these populations, because without them, ecosystems go out of whack, and then that ultimately affects humans.
Right, and that's something that was drilled into me through my ethics class pretty recently, actually. They were talking about the rate at which we're like the planet's being messed up, especially with you hear all the time with climate change, or everyone talking about climate change, but I don't know, I guess being shown so abruptly, like the photos of like recent things that have been happening, including like a bunch of Arctic species, especially going extinct because they don't really have a lot of like ice to stand on to like live, and a bunch of tropical species getting driven out through the deforestation. But the question becomes like, okay, how are the people that are working for these companies going to make a living if we were to put a halt on everything, right? Like, it's a problem that's extremely big for sure. It's disheartening, but at the end of the day, like it's running on capitalism. How do the workers
Yeah,
provide for themselves?
that's a really big problem because humans have to provide for themselves, but we also have a responsibility, I believe, to help others as well, other humans, other animals, other ecosystems, because in a way we have done the damage to them, and I feel like it's the least we could do in preserving those ecosystems. And preserving our ecosystems is not just like, oh, we're just giving them something, like this is just something we have to do because we feel sorry. No, it actually like comes to bite us back in the butt if we don't do anything about it, because we're dependent on those as well.
Right, and I think that the biggest like threat was bees at some point, right? Like, yeah, if we lose the bees, then 5 years down the line we're done. Also, like we need this species. It's essential for life, and I'm sure there's a lot of those within this world that helps us exist, and yet we're driving them out, which is scary to a point. But yeah, moving on to the closing tradition of the podcast, we have a tradition where the last guest asks the next guest a question without knowing who it is. And the question that's been left for you is, if you could only eat one food for the entirety of your life, what would it be?
Oh my gosh, are we in summer camp? One food for the entirety of my life. I get this all the time. And I feel like, yeah, this is like such an icebreaker question. I mean, it's a good question. It's a fair question. You know, I'm not Italian, but I do really like Italian food. I would have to say pasta, I think. Because there's so many different versions of pasta. You can get a nice, good variety of different spices and stuff in it. Like, you can have mild pasta, spicy pasta. I love spicy food. You can get ones with vegetables, ones with meat. I think it's a pretty good choice. You can get pasta salad, then you can get salad too, because I really like salad. But you can't live off, well, I mean, I guess you could live off salad, but living a life just pure salad, that sounds a little sad, but.
That is true. Yeah, how long do you think it'd take for you to get absolutely sick of pasta?
3 days probably, and then I hate myself. I mean, I like pasta, but 3 days, yeah. But then anything else, I don't know, I feel like
you'd get even quicker, just one day.
It's just one day, yeah. After one meal, I'm done. Like, I had a cheeseburger the other day, and I'm like, I'm done with cheeseburgers for the next, 3 weeks. Like, I'm good.
Continuing the tradition, what would you ask the next guest?
The other person? Let's see. Do you strive for happiness? And if not, what do you strive for?
Okay. Very simple. Very nice. Very pleasant. Oh, that's awesome. Where can people find you, Viviana?
In Fallbrook. That's one place. You can find me pretty much all around campus. You can find me on Instagram, I guess, if you want to. I'm not gonna, if you reply to me, I'm probably not gonna respond to you. And that's it. I don't have any other social media besides that. What's
like the handle?
Oh, Vivi Lastly. That's it. It's VIVI Lasley. It's the one that has a bunch of flowers next to my name, and it's me with my big old smile. You can't miss it.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. That was a great conversation. I think that's wraps.
Yeah, thank you, Magnus. Thank you for having me. It's been fun.